say hello to the EX5, which despite the name is not a new car from Volvo. Although to be fair, it's about as close as you'll get to a Volvo without those little Swedish flags stitched into the seats. Now, this is a new car from a company called Geely that you might not have heard of yet. They are a Chinese automotive superpower, and they just happen to be the parent company of Volvo too. I reckon this is a car you're going to see an awful lot on the roads of the UK, in part because it's very well spec'd and it's also going to be pretty affordable. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to the Geely EX5, tell you what it's like to live with, take it for a spin, and crunch the numbers, which do look pretty good. But before we get started, please subscribe. It won't cost you a penny, unlike a new car. So, the Geely EX5. Let me tell you a bit more about Geely before we get started. So, as I said, Chinese automotive superpower, but they actually own loads of brands you will be familiar with. They own Volvo, as I said. They also own Polestar and Lotus and a brand called Zeekr, which should be coming to the UK at some point soon. They also own those black electric London taxis that you may well have been in. They're made by a company called LEVC. So without even realising it, you've probably sat in, driven or been driven in one of Geely's cars. In fact, they make up 1 in every 14 electrified cars sold in the UK. So, you know, they know what they're doing.
So the EX5 is a rival to cars like the Ford Explorer, the Citroën EC5, Skoda Elroq, our car of the year, the Kia EV3, and Chinese rivals like the JQ E5 and the MG S5. It's the first of several cars arriving in the UK from Geely over the next 12 months and will be followed by a small electric hatch. They have plans for a large national dealer network with 25 dealers already open.
So the EX5 is, yes, I know, another mid-sized electric SUV, but we do buy loads of them. It comes in 3 specs, entry-level SE, Pro and Max, and all versions use a 60 kilowatt hour LFP battery with a claimed range of up to 267 miles. That drops slightly if you go for this top of the range version. Gives more range than rivals like the Skoda Elroq or the Ford Explorer, along with its Chinese rival, the JQ5. But where things get interesting and also complicated is pricing. So stand by, let's do the numbers. The EX5 starts at £31,990 for the entry-level SE. That rises to £36,990 for the top spec, which is this car. Puts it in line with most of the rivals in its class, undercuts a couple like the Peugeot E3000A and the Ford Explorer. However, to sweeten the deal and to say hello to us all in the UK, Geely has introduced its own version of the government electric car grant, called the Geely Grant. Now what this does is knock £2,300 off the SE, £3,200 off the Pro, and a rather hefty £3,750 off this version, the Max. If you're trading in a petrol or diesel car, there's also an extra £1,000 part exchange discount, which is on offer until the end of the year. My maths tells me that if you add all this up, it gives you £4,750 off this range-topping Max. I told you the numbers look good, didn't I?
Buyers of the higher spec car can also claim £500 towards an Anderson home charger, or if you can't charge at home, an Electroverse public charging voucher for the same value. So they're definitely starting strong on the offer. And if the numbers are good enough to make you want to find out more about the Geely EX5, then why not book a test drive by scanning the QR code on the screen. For now, let's crack on with the looks.
I was just standing here pondering the design and thinking, is it a bit generic? Because it kind of reminds me of lots of cars that I can't name, so please do let me know what you think in the comments below. But then a bloke came over and was just raving about it, about how nice he thought it looked and how different to a lot of the macho SUVs out there, which was the word he used.
The word is macho.
Macho. And I guess now I can see what he means. And actually, the design team, which are in Milan, because this is where this was designed, were very influenced by Ming porcelain, which apparently is why you can see the curves in there. So I don't know, I'm going to leave that one to you to figure out. Do love this colour though. This is jade green, 1 of 5 on offer. Around the side here, you've got some nice, look, if I do this, sort of sleek pop-out handles, also very good for aero. Come round to the back. You've got the obligatory huge, long light bar. From memory, that's 1.4 metres stretches around the car, and LED headlights at the front across the range. Sometimes you don't get those in the entry-level models. From the back, I kind of think it looks a bit Porsche Macan-ish. You seeing that? Let me know in the comments below, but I do. So yeah, I think it's a nice looking thing. It doesn't wow me, but it's certainly not an unattractive car. Let's see if I can find the tailgate. There it is, power tailgate on the top spec only, which is this car. This is all Mitch's kit. Mitch is behind the camera today. We've given Manos a day off. He's sunning himself on a beach in Greece, I think. It's a decent sized boot space. I'm going to have to take this out so I can show you the really fun bit there, which is the subfloor. Thanks, Mitch. This is really good of you. Great. Thanks, Mitch. Okay, brilliant. Might have to speed this bit up, team. Okay, glad I'm not carrying that lot around all day. So you got 461 litres of space, very similar to rivals in the class. What you'll notice though is that you haven't got much of the space up here. You've actually got a really good sized hidden compartment, which is great for keeping your charging cables and your wellies in. And if I do this, hang on a second, I'm going to come back with this. Look, let's put this one back in. Low load lip, but look, it can really disguise quite big pieces of luggage in there. Is there anything valuable in there, Mitch? Because I might steal that and help you forget about it if there is. And with the rear seats folded down, the space almost quadruples. In fact, you get class leading space with them down. You could probably camp in the back of that, couldn't you? So inside, it does feel nice and bright and airy and actually pretty spacious in here. Julie reckons that it's got the space from a class above. I haven't had my tape measure out to check that, but it does feel pretty light and spacious. So you get a choice of 2 interiors, a lighter one like this, and there is a darker black one. Of course there is. I'm not entirely sure about this slightly shimmery wood effect here, but if you don't like it, you can just opt for the black, can't you? What I am happy about is there is a really good mixture in here of buttons and screens. Yay! So we've got the big screen, of course we have. That's got everything in there that you need, including the automotive must-have of the moment, which is an AI operated sort of voice activated chat function. Of course it's got that. Got a smaller screen here in front of you with all your driver control, all your driver information on rather. And happy to see also buttons on the steering wheel. But you do have buttons down here for your climate control. And this rotary wheel, it reminds me of the lovely one from BMWs, which they've now got rid of, sadly. So if you have it in that function, it will turn the volume up and down really easily. Give it a quick double click and it turns to, hasn't done it that time. Quick double click and it turns to the fan speed. So that's quite handy. It means you don't have to stab around in the menu for everything. Because unfortunately there is quite a lot of stabbing around in the menu to do anyway. So there's a lot of the functions for the menu are in here. One of the annoying things is that there is a beautiful pano roof in here, but every time you close the car, it automatically closes. So you have to go back into your menu and you have to do that. And then the sunshade will open. So it's a little bit irritating to have to do that at the start of every journey because it is a very beautiful pano roof. This incidentally is standard on the top spec. As with all Chinese cars, you do get a lot of spec for the money. So in this top spec, you've got a myriad of, heated and cooled seats. You've got massaging functions with 8 different massaging spots on the seats. As I said, you get the pano roof. You get 16 speakers, again on this top of the range version. And it's really well spec with safety kit. I mean, even the entry-level model gets all the safety kit as standard, and that includes things like adaptive cruise control and the pedestrian warning and all the lane warnings. So it's really nice to see all of that on the base models as well. Of course it syncs to Apple CarPlay, but it's only CarPlay at the moment. There will be an over-the-air update coming which will sync to Android Auto, which will enable it rather to sync to Android Auto. Storage, you've got loads of it. There are apparently 33 different storage compartments in here. I am not going to count them all. You'll be pleased to hear, so we'll have to take Geely at its word for that. I'm definitely not showing you them all, but I do want to show you actually this one. Look at this! This is utterly brilliant. It is a junk drawer under the rear seats. If you have kids, you will know how useful that will be. Look, I think generally it has kind of quite a nice premium feel in here. Seats are comfy. I like the shape of the steering wheel. I like the leather trim in this top of the range. Look, if you just kind of hunt around a bit, you know, some of the trim doesn't feel, you know, amazing quality, but I think overall the vibe is definitely that you are getting a lot for your money in here. It's so big back here and light and nice and bright and very big once again. So the seat is set for Mitch, who is 6'1". Look at this, look at it. I mean, I'm 5'4". Look, there's a massive scoop under the seat in front to tuck my feet under. I've got absolutely loads of knee room. Headroom, headroom is massive. Yes, I think it's fair to say you've got enough space back here. You've also got the really nice flat floor, which adds to that feeling of spaciousness, and the seats will go back a little more. So this outer seat here is in its sort of most reclined position. So you've got 2 levels of adjustment there. You've got decent cup holders, Isofix child seat points on the outside. And yes, it's big. Absolutely loads of space. I'm now starting to get what they mean when they said to me earlier that it's actually got the space from the class above. And that's partly to do with how the battery is configured. The cells are actually built into the platform, the underpinnings of the car. So it gives it a low centre of gravity. It means you don't have to really step up into the car, gives them the ability to have more space in here, gives that extra headroom. Yeah, you can really feel it. Look, the more I poke around this car, and this is the very first time I've spent any time in it, the more I'm starting to think that this one, at under £37,000, and then by the time you've added on that Geely grant, and if you're, you know, doing scrappage as well, you're getting an awful lot for your money. Let's go for a drive, shall we? Right then, so you've got a single motor, which is driving the front wheels. That gives 215 horsepower. 0 to 62 takes just under 7 seconds, so it's pretty punchy actually. And it does feel quite nippy, feels quick off the mark. You've definitely got enough power for a quick overtake or for when you're cruising on the motorway. It's actually one of the most powerful cars in its class. Only the ES5 beats it on performance, which has got more horsepower and a bit of a punchier 0 to 62 time. Now, this isn't built on the same underpinnings as cars like the Volvo or the Zeekr. It's built on its own platform, as I said earlier, and it's a platform they use in China and share with the wider Geely group. Now, the problem with that can be that we have very unique roads in the UK. They are uniquely rubbish, full of potholes and general wear and tear from being patched up badly so many times. So Geely asked the engineers at Lotus, another one of its companies, to work on the EX5 to ensure the suspension setup can cope with all of that, given that Chinese roads are pretty good. Has it worked? Yeah, I think it has. The ride is pretty good. You can feel that it's really been engineered for comfort, as you'd expect with a car like this. It does soak up, though, the potholes and the bumps well. Feels a little bit bouncy for me, but I think, you know, for what this car's going to do, it's absolutely fine. What's disappointed me slightly is the brake regeneration. So you have 3 different levels of brake regeneration, which you have to find in the menu, which is a bit annoying. Even the highest level doesn't give you true one-pedal driving, which I think you might find a bit disappointing if, like me, you really love that one-pedal driving. The other thing you're going to find really annoying is the safety systems, I'm not going to lie. Now, this is a very safe car. Loads of airbags, 5-star Euro NCAP rating. That's because of all the safety systems that it's got. Absolutely stacks of them. Now, they are a little hectic. So you can turn certain systems off. However, you have to do that when you're parked, going through different menu options. And there are a couple that I've just not been able to turn off at all. And it seems to do some random things like tell me I'm not paying attention even though I really am. And it gets upset with me even when I'm like way under the speed limit. I think the safety systems could become a little annoying over time. And I do wonder if Geely needs to do a little bit of work on calibrating them for UK roads, which of course are very different, not just because they're rubbish, but also because they're often narrower than the roads you might find in China. But yeah, it has been shouting at me a lot for no reason. I've been driving very carefully.
And it has been suggested to me that an over-the-air update should be sent soon to quieten down the safety systems.
Steering, again, it's fine. You can adjust the steering levels. There's 3 different levels. I'm quite old school. I like quite firm steering. I like a lot of feedback. And even in sport mode, I'm finding it a little bit light for my taste. The upside of that is that it's nice and easy to park around town thanks to that. Visibility is also really good because of these deep windows, and you've got all the parking kit that you need included to help you when you do need to park. Overall, I don't think it's the most engaging car to drive. You're not going to want to take corners at speed. It's a little wallowy, although it does feel quite centred because of that battery configuration that I mentioned earlier. All in all though, I can imagine that this is a really easy car to live with.
Charging speeds are also impressive for the class. 160 kilowatt DC fast charging gives a 30 to 80% top up in around 20 minutes. They reckon you can add 85 miles in 10 minutes, which is really handy if you just need to quickly charge and go. That's quicker than many rivals like the MG S5 or the Kia EV3. And the JQ5, which tops out at just 80 kilowatts. In fact, very few can match it, although rivals like the Citroën EC5 Aircross and Leap Motor B10 are up there with the Geely for charging speeds. At home, a 7 kilowatt wall box will recharge overnight, and you get an 11 kilowatt onboard charger as standard. Higher spec models come with vehicle to load, which lets you use the car as a mobile power source and plug in 3-pin electrical items like your hedge trimmers or your kettle when you go camping. It's very handy. You also get battery preconditioning across the range, which warms or cools the battery to its ideal temperature before charging or driving. That helps to improve range, speed up charging and protects the long-term battery health. All of which is good.
So the Geely EX5, the new kid on the block in a part of the market where there is absolutely loads of choice. Now, like I said at the start, I think the numbers on this stack up incredibly well, particularly when you think what you get for the money. And if you can take advantage of those Geely grants and you're trading in a petrol or diesel to get that extra £1,000, they're really pretty compelling prices. Of course, most of us buy cars on monthly finance, and while there are some pretty good PCP offers on this, leasing is where it doesn't stack up quite as well at the moment. Both its main rivals, the JQ E5 and the MG S5, come in under this at the moment when you look at the monthly figures. However, those prices will start to come down and adjust quite quickly. And actually, that's the group test that we want to see, isn't it? Let's put this up against its 2 Chinese rivals, the MG S5 and the JQ E5, and we'll have an EV battle. Are you in? If you are, do make sure you subscribe to the channel and switch your notifications on, because we're going to be filming that video very soon and you will want to know when it's landed.